Gentleman from Louisiana.
Thank you. I think Senator Moreno and, frankly, Senator Schumer, they are reflecting the frustration the American people have. I'm going to give a speech which is substantially the same as what I gave last night, and I'll give it again later today. It's like TV advertising. I need people to actually listen to what I am saying as opposed to immediately presuming they know what I'm going to say, and we end in the same dadgum situation we've been for 39 days. We need to open the government. So, if we need to talk about health care to open the government, let's talk about health care. Now, and again, I worked for 20 years in a public hospital for the uninsured and the poorly insured. I know the consequences of this inflation that we have been having when it comes to health insurance. I know the impact it's having upon people as to whether or not, my gosh, can I even afford to keep it? So Congress, Senate, let's find a solution. But to find a solution, we have to put down the way we've always thought. The way that, oh my gosh, we are going to oppose if the other side proposes it just because the other side proposes. We've got to actually move beyond the entrenched way of thinking and be creative. So, and may I point out an irony here? Senator Moreno talked about irony. Right now, the Republicans are trying to return to the original ACA model in which money went straight to the patient, but not to the insurance company. At some point, it wasn't funded, and so the first Trump administration allowed a workaround, and that workaround has led to these high premiums. Democrats are going to the mattress to defend a workaround from the first Trump administration that was trying to make up for a portion of the Affordable Care Act that could not be implemented. They should be saying, let's go kind of back to the model of how the Affordable Care Act was supposed to be implemented. Instead, they're defending Trump 1 policies. I don't even know if they know that, but it's their, my gosh, I got to oppose just to oppose, that's going to defeat us getting out of this lockdown. So let's just talk about the enhanced premium tax credit. Again, a program that sends billions this coming year. $26 billion will go to insurers if all we do is a straight out reauthorization. But that actually doesn't make health care less affordable. And in fact, even for health insurance, it can make the policy more expensive for many of those who are in the individual market. Now, let me make clear now. I am not. Are we ready for a thing? And by the way, let me just show this chart as to the impact this is having upon health insurers. This is major health insurance company stock performance after the passage of Obamacare from March 2010 to November 2025. For United Health Group, they're up almost 1,200%. For Cigna, 800%. And you can go down the line. Now, I'm not bashing insurance companies. We need them. But do we really need to send $26 billion more this year when we can send it straight to the patient? By the way, and we're not talking about doing away with every part of the health insurance program, just that portion currently being funded by the enhanced premium tax credits. And so when Senator Moreno talks about these dollars going to insurance companies, we can see the impact of that upon their stock price. It's done great. So let's maybe do something different. Let's, instead of worry about the pocketbook of the insurance company, let's worry about the pocketbook of our fellow American who's paying these higher costs. Now, instead of paying the insurance company to manage the care, my proposal is to have a pre-funded federal flexible spending account. Now, before I go into that detail, let's talk about the problems of the enhanced premium tax credits. And by the way, this is Bill Cassidy talking. This is not the chairman of the Help Committee. This is not the Trump administration. This is not the leader of the Senate. This is my proposal, and I don't attribute it to anybody. Although I'll note that the president apparently is in support. And right now I'm speaking to my colleagues, and I'm speaking to Americans who might be watching. Now, under the enhanced premium tax credit, if your insurance premium goes up, Washington just pays more. There's absolutely no incentive for the insurers to hold down cost because the more it costs, the more they get. Think about that. The higher the healthcare cost, the more the insurance company gets. Now, they're not evil, but I will say there's a clear motivation here. If you're a profit-making company and you can be insensitive to how much that cost is increasing, you're going to be insensitive. We need to have incentive to bring the cost down. We need to have a transparency as to what things actually cost, and we need to reward families who actually try and save. I liken this to, you got a broken bone, you put a bandage on it, it doesn't heal the fracture, it just hides the broken bone. Let's fix the broken bone. We actually need to help the patient, the family, be incentivized to shop for that lower cost and incentivize the companies to lower the cost. So the enhanced premium tax credit, it doesn't empower patients, it enriches insurance company, and I will note that since this Obamacare passed, the insurance companies have done very well. But the patient's health care has become more expensive, and it's now out of the reach for many families. Now, I got a tweet last night from one of my Democratic colleagues. No, we got to defend status quo. I'm thinking, and this person is a vociferous critic of insurance companies. And I'm thinking, will you just listen? As opposed to just reject. Listen. We don't want this $26 billion going to insurance companies where 20% of it is taken for administrative overhead and profit. We want it to go to the families where 100% is paid for health care. And not in some way which puts them at a disadvantage, but in a way which puts them at an advantage. And as opposed to discussing this over Twitter, let's actually meet face to face and see if you can be persuaded that this is a better way to go. So what can we do to break the model to do something different? Can we, are we ready for the next one now? Now imagine a different, chart 2 please. Now imagine a different type of help, not an insurance subsidy, but a health account that you, our fellow Americans, control. Right now, where does the healthcare dollar go? In the enhanced premium tax credit, it goes to the insurance company. 20% is going to administrative overhead. That should read 80%, and 80% is going to pay for payments of care. So 20% for administrative overhead, you lose that, 80% to take care of payments. Here, we take that portion of the current payment the federal government is making that goes to enhanced premium tax credits, and we put it in a pre-funded flexible savings account. And the patient has an account. My wife and I have one of these. It works pretty well. And 100% of the money goes to paying for health care. And it can pay for the physician, the medicines, it can pay for dentistry and orthodontia. So in all this, you've got a 20% plus up in the amount available to actually pay for health care. Now, every eligible American citizen on the exchange would get this federally pre-funded. I keep stressing the pre-funded. In the health savings account my wife and I have, we're on an Obamacare exchange, we actually take a portion of our income and we designate it to go into the flexible spending account. But here, we would take a value equal to the amount the person would have otherwise received from the enhanced premium tax credit, and we put it in the flexible spending account. And it pays for real world expenses. I just mentioned it pays for dental care. It pays for eyeglasses. Keep in mind, many insurance policies on the exchanges don't pay for dental care, and they don't pay for eyeglasses. It's something extra that you have to purchase. In this case, the flexible spending account would allow that to be done. Prescription drugs, your routine medical services and preventive care. It does not go for premiums, though. It goes to the patient, and the patient then uses it as she understands, helps her family's budget the most. Now, by the way, let me just give a shout out to the president. He recognizes we have a problem. He knows the insurance market is broken. He put out a tweet last night favoring this approach. And you can't read this because it's too much language, but you see it's from Donald J. Trump, and bottom line is he wants money to go to patients and not to insurance companies. And the response to that from one of my Democratic colleagues was, oh, we're taking money from insurance companies. No, we're taking that portion that would be part of the enhanced premium tax credit, and we're putting it in a pre-funded flexible spending account. If people would just listen as opposed to automatically reject, and if people would realize that Democrats are defending a Republican workaround to something that Obamacare tried to do, but they wrote the language poorly so it couldn't be implemented, maybe they would stop and reconsider. Why am I part of this totally ironic situation where Democrats are fighting to the death, keeping the government closed almost 40 days because we want to defend Trump 1 administration policies? The irony here is incredible. So, the president's posting that we need to redirect these enhanced premium tax credit subsidy amounts to our Americans so that they can get their own health care. So, I agree with the president. We need to give the money to the patient and bypass the insurance company for this portion of what they would otherwise receive. Now, I've also been told, sounds great, Bill, but it sounds complicated. 72% of Americans working for a government entity, federal government, state, local, have access to a flexible spending account. 47% of those in the commercial market. Hundreds of millions of Americans have access to these accounts. My wife and I have had an account for several years. This is not complicated. Now, my wife and I are on the small business Obamacare exchange. It's not offered on the individual exchange, but it's offered on the small business exchange, the one that Congress is on. So, but the point is, we are already doing this. If you say it's complicated, you say it's complicated, and yet we're already doing it. So I'm not quite sure where the complication comes. It's like saying it's complicated to play a football game, but we've been playing football games every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. No, it's not complicated. We know the rules of the game. The players know who they are. They go out and they play, and we have a score. So, by the way, if there's going to be some bureaucratic obstacle to getting some rule change in order to make sure we can take it from one exchange to the other, even the people that hate President Donald J. Trump will admit that guy can get the bureaucracy to do things. If there's anybody in Washington, D.C. that can get something done when a bureaucrat says it can't be, it is Donald J. Trump. So you may not like the guy, but at this point, his strength is our strength, so let's use his strength to solve this problem if we can just get beyond an outright rejection, because the president might like it too. Now, and I just one example, I'll hold that example just for the sake of time. So let me make clear the differences between the enhanced premium tax credits and a federally funded, pre-funded flexible spending account. Again, this is only the portion benefiting the patient that currently goes to the enhanced premium tax credit, which will be $26 billion this coming year. Who gets the money? Enhanced premium tax credit? Insurance companies. Under a pre-funded flexible savings account, patients and families. What can it be used for? Insurance premiums. For patients, real care. Doctor's visits, dentist visits, glasses, prescriptions, boom, real care. Who makes the decision? The insurance company? No. In the pre-funded FSA, it is the patient making the decision. And does it lower costs? No. Demonstrably, this enhanced premium tax credit has contributed to higher premium costs. Here, the patient is empowered to shop. If I can get my medical service, my mammogram, my MRI, cheaper here than there, I'm motivated to do that because it leaves more money in my pocket. That is called patient empowerment. Give the patient the power, dadgummit. By the way, if it turns out you can save money by paying cash instead of the negotiated rate from the insurance company, pay cash. That begins to lower it. But you would at least get the negotiated price. But now you also have the option of paying cash, and believe it or not, it is oftentimes cheaper to pay cash than to pay the negotiated price from the insurance company. So you save money, and the taxpayers funding, pre-funding your account also saves money. That's the essence of giving a patient the power. She picks the best deal, just like she would for groceries, for a car, or for a house. Now, how does this empower consumers? The pre-funded flexible spending account doesn't treat someone as a dependent of the federal government like the enhanced premium tax credit does. It treats them like a capable consumer who knows what's best for their family, where to go for their dental work, where to go for their pharmacy, and how much to pay. The negotiated rate from the insurance company, or if you can find it, a cheaper cash price. And instead of Washington paying insurance companies to manage, the insurance company to manage your day-to-day care, you manage it, the patient manages it, the mama manages it with fairness, transparency, and flexibility. Now, by the way, some say, well, won't this cost more? It'll cost about the same as the enhanced premium tax credit, which should be something to appeal to my Democratic colleagues. By and large, we would take the same money going for the enhanced premium tax credit, and we would put it into these pre-funded flexible savings accounts. Now, we'd cut out the fraud. You save some money there, and some little bit and little bit. The second year, I think we would save money. I'd like to do this for 2 years, but this is up for talking, because people are going to start purchasing more wisely. Other reforms will kick in. But the point being, my Democratic colleagues, that it costs about the same as far as I'm concerned. But the difference is, instead of 20% going to an insurance company's profit and administrative overhead, 100% is going for real care. So, this isn't just fiscally responsible, it is common sense. Now, as I conclude, let me once more point out the irony. The irony is the enhanced premium tax credits, you can draw a straight line back to the higher premium cost associated with the Trump 1 administration trying to find a workaround for a poorly drafted Affordable Care Act. And since then, premiums have gone up. And what my Democratic colleagues are fighting for to the death is to continue a direct result of that Trump 1 policy. And you could say there's some irony that Republicans are saying, let's go back to an original structure because it gave more money to the patient. I would like to say that's something that, as a Republican, I was always for. But I would say that currently the Democratic position is entrenched. Not all, but entrenched. If a Republican proposes it, if Donald Trump treats in favor of it, we have to reject it. All I'm asking is stop being a Democrat for just a second and be an American. Be an American who hadn't been paid for 40 days. Be an American who's paying too much for our health insurance and too much for our health care. Stop being a partisan and start being an American. I am ready to talk. Again, it's Bill Cassidy, it's not Trump, it's not Thune, it's not anybody else. But only when we begin to communicate are we going to find a solution that works for us all. Let's stop writing blank checks to insurance companies. Let's invest in the patients. And I'll finish by saying this. We got to open the government. We got to open the government. And once we do that, we'll have the people back that can finish drafting this. But we have to be willing to take a risk. We have to get out of our entrenched positions. And by the way, I'm going to get criticized for this, but we got to take a risk. And we take that risk. If we're brave enough to do something different, then we're going to solve this problem. I'm a doctor, but most importantly, I'm a doctor who's an American that wants our country to be served by a Congress which is more concerned about partisan bickering than about the people back home. With that, I yield.